Hello, everybody. So here is Black Angel again, and I'm here to talk to you about ESTJs. So I promised this video a long time ago, and I think it's about time that I keep my promise. So ESTJs, who are ESTJs? I recently rewatched the series Lost, and there is an ESTJ right there, which is Dr. Shepard. So it's Jack Shepherd, if I'm not wrong in the English pronunciation, because I watched the series in Italian and the pronunciation of names is slightly different. So Dr. Shepherd is actually an ESTJ, and there you have all the examples of functions and how they're used by this type. So we're talking about a leader type of some sort. It's not actually a leader, but rather a chosen leader. Um, and they're normally chosen leaders because they sacrifice for the welfare of the community. So they are extroverted thinking dominants. And with extroverted thinking in the leading position, we're talking about a type that is focused on acquiring knowledge, gathering data, and following public opinion. So they actually incarnate public opinion, they embody public opinion. And they do in such a way that they never fall out of society's expectations. So whenever we talk about this kind of behavior, we're talking about that kind of behavior that is always in favor of the community. So community is based on the concept of survival. So people expect that others are going to behave in such a way that will make the whole society survive. So that's TE thinkers, that's groupthink. And this kind of groupthink is also a very us versus them kind of mentality that is based on in-group versus out-group. So our group versus others group. And that's shown very well in Lost too. So Dr. Shepherd, for example, in Lost, shows his extrovert thinking leading position in that he is extremely hostile versus the others, whereas he is extremely helpful towards people of his group. Um, so this is very important when we're talking about extrovert thinkers. One very big characteristic that represent people of this type, ESTJs, is that they're very concrete thinkers. So they're very material. They're very factual in their way of thinking. So they value facts that they have in front of them. They do not go for what could be, but they want to follow what is, so what they have at hand. We have an example of that in pushing the button when they are in the bunker. Dr. Shepherd is not inclined to push the button because he has no proof that it's going to change anything if he doesn't. So that's based on factual reality. So until I don't know that the others exist, they do not exist. That's extroverted thinking right there. Another thing that extroverted thinking does is thinking by heuristics. So they have this attitude of forming generalized ideas that they apply broadly, and they're normally shared by the community. Now, we're not talking about stereotypes or generalizations like those that you find in my videos or in MBTI or Socionics or whatever. That's not what we're talking about. When we talk about heuristics, we're talking about stuff like all women are sluts, or all women are weird. This is something that you can find in society, actually. All women are crazy. This kind of thinking there is extroverted thinking. That's thinking by heuristics. So I'm not going to go in depth about this topic, actually, but that's also part of extroverted thinking. And something that is particularly curious about them is that they do not care about understanding. They have an implicit and kind of subconscious understanding of things. We're talking about extroverted thinking dominance here. ESTJs specifically. But they're not going to listen to you to the end. Like an example in Lost with Dr. Shepard is when Kate goes to him and tells him, "I want to tell you what I've done," because she's a criminal, and he replies, "I don't care. I don't want to know." That's basically an ESTJ's kind of behavior. So that's also based on extroverted thinking, because extroverted thinking is based on the core idea of a person and the reputation of such person. So Kate on the island has a very good reputation, and therefore she cannot possibly be bad, and she cannot possibly be seen negatively, even if she's a criminal and a murderer. That's how extrovert thinking works. Extrovert thinking dominants are also extremely focused on their own reputation. Their own reputation, so what people think about them is extremely important to them. So having a big audience, having big numbers, for example, an ESTJ YouTuber would want to have millions of followers. And if they don't get millions of followers, they basically feel like they do not exist, because they do not have this broad and positive reputation. So an ESTJ is basically going to be the type that does everything possible to have the best possible reputation here and now. They're sensors. So the second function is introverted sensing, which is focused on relaxation and body sensations. So they're kind of amusement oriented in some way. It's not actually amusement in the extroverted feeling kind of way, like sharing enthusiasm with others. That's actually something that doesn't belong in ESTJ, but they are very concerned about positive physical sensations, being always in the best possible form, physical form. They're also very hasty type. They do not have a feeling of tempo, and therefore they tend to be quite hasty. And their only way to be relaxed is this physical kind of relaxation. So they're more inclined to sit on a chair and spend time reading rather than going out there doing stuff. So when we look at Dr. Shepard in the series Lost, for example, he's more likely to be there gathering medicines and checking on what he has available than actually going around and exploring the island or looking around just for the sake of it. If he's going for an excursion or something, it is always for a reason. And that's also part of an ESTJ. They always do what is needed for society, for the community, but they only do it when it's necessary. Third function, extrovert intuition. This is their core of self-esteem. Extrovert intuition is the intuition of possibilities. So seeing as many possibilities as there possibly can be is their core of self-esteem. So they're very interested in knowing and figuring out by themselves what opportunities, what options they have available. So it's more about a fan of possibilities rather than actually coming to a conclusion of any kind. So what can I do in this situation? I could do this, I could do that, I could do that, I could do this other thing. Like making this video, they would be interested in how many things would it be possible to share about this type that is ESTJ, rather than actually finding those things that matter, that it matters sharing. And that's their core of self-esteem, to have as broad or wide a fan of possibilities in every possible circumstance as possible. As opposed instead, sorry, to seeing the cause and effect of things, or finding tempo and knowing where they're heading. That's not something an ESTJ would be concerned about. Last function is introverted feelings. So they're very suggestible by love. They're seeking someone that expresses strong judgments of right and wrong from their own point of view. and someone that is going to be a little bit judgmental. And for that kind of person, they could do pretty much anything. They also can go against the rules that they themselves have set for the community. One of the example of that would be when they find food on the island and other things. Hugo is told by Dr. Shepherd not to give anything to anyone, because that would create a precedent and it would cause trouble. But Kate gets a bottle of shampoo, and that's not a problem because Dr. Shepherd has a crush on Kate, and therefore she can do whatever the fuck she wants, basically. So they can be pretty unfair in this sense, because they give precedence to whoever it is that they have a good disposition towards. These are basically the main functions of an ESTJ. Now, what kind of type can an ESTJ be? They can possibly Enneagram 6, Enneagram 1. Enneagram 1 is a very ESTJ's Enneagram. Because of the attention, because of the perfectionism and this wanting to be always best and be seen best by others, in a very reputation kind of way, like I said at the beginning. What else? Possibly Enneagram 4. Anyway, anagrams that are more connected with society and socializing, like Enneagram 9, for example, Enneagram 6, that is the skeptic loyal, the loyal skeptic, or Enneagram 3, that is an image Enneagram. This kind of Enneagrams are going to be more likely for an ESTJ. There can be other Enneagrams too, like every type. Every type can be every Enneagram, but this kind of Enneagram is probably the most likely for an ESTJ. So remember, whenever you're talking about ESTJs, you're talking about a very society, community-oriented kind of type. If you watched Once Upon a Time, for example, an example of ESTJ could possibly be Prince Charming. And an INFP could be Snow White in the series Once Upon a Time. That kind of behavior, their community before the subject, that's extroverted thinking. So I think this is pretty much everything I have about this type. I hope it helped, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.